What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. If this is your first time watching Adapt and Respond, thank you for joining us here. We talk college football. We talk football year round. If you're into that, and I know you are, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, like this video, and answer the question in the comments below. Which team do you think starts in the preseason coaches poll, but won't end there come Martin Luther King Day when we play for the national championship? Yeah, January 19th, around the corner, right? But we're doing this now. Do you think that college football should need a red zone? And I absolutely think it should need a red zone. Do you think that Texas Tech is going to do something they haven't done since 2009? And why that ought to be in reach for them, but history says no, sir, probably not. I want to talk about just what it means for Texas Tech to spend as much money as they've spent. And I do want to get into college football having a red zone. ESPN, go ahead and do right by us here. But I want to start with the preseason top 25 that came out in the coaches poll, because the AP poll has not dropped yet. It's dropping on Monday, and we'll talk about that, and we'll go through it, because I don't think they're going to do what the coaches did, which is put Boise State into this thing and leave Oklahoma out of it, which I think is a great place to begin the conversation about who's in and who's out. But as I've said, this is a prove-it year for Brent Venables, and bringing in guys like John Mateer, Jaden Knott, Jim Nagy. Oklahoma needs to finish as a top 25 team in 2025 so everybody feels safe. We're already getting odds that Brent Venables has better odds to be fired, according to BetOnline. Thank you for sponsoring the show. To get fired than Sam Pittman, right? Like, it's right there. And you go 6-7, 10-3, 6-7 after not having a losing season at Oklahoma since, the 20th century. People are going to lose their minds, and rightfully so, right? Oklahoma's about excellence. Oklahoma's about winning at a very high level, and I'm getting tired of the SEC folks telling us, hey, welcome to the SEC. You know what? Tell it to Mississippi State. You know what I mean? Tell it to Ole Miss. Tell us somebody ain't won no national championships, ain't got no Heisman Trophy winners. Miss me with that garbage, all right? Oklahoma's great. Texas is Texas. That's the number one team in the coaches poll. I would assume it's the number one team in the Associated Press poll, but that's about where it is. So interestingly enough, Brett McMurphy does a really cool job of keeping us up on this stuff. And he noted that in 2024, 13, that's more than half of the 25 teams in the preseason AP Top 25 finished unranked. And he listed them. And they are Michigan, who started at 9. They finished 8-5, right? Florida State, my God, egg on my face. They started 10 here. They started 10 in the AP. They started 5 for me. And then they go 2-10 for one of the worst seasons that Florida State has had in nearly 50 years. Utah was garbage, but we didn't think that they were going to be garbage because we thought Cam Rising was going to be ready to play. Instead, they go 5-7. I think they'll be better this year. LSU finished at 13. They're out. Or started at 13. They're out of the top 25 last year because, LSU plays in the SEC. See how that works? Garrett Nussmeier, I think, is going to make them a little bit better going into a second year as a starter. OU at 16 last year to start, finished out of the top 25. Oklahoma State at 17. They were garbage, to use the French term, 3-9. Mike Gundy gets to keep doing his job, but we're going to fire Brent Venables. Neither here nor there. It's actually Stillwater and Norman, but you get it. Then we get Kansas State at 18. Okay. 20 Texas A&M. Okay. Arizona. My God, we have a lot of faith in Brent Brennan, what he could do in year one. Kansas, if they played the second half the way they played the first half, they'd be one of those teams in the top 25. They're still good. SC at 23, NC State at 24. What the hell were we thinking there? Iowa at 25 makes a lot of sense. So that's the teams that were starting in the preseason top 25. And then we're out of it by the end of the year. Now we played 12 games, and now it takes about 15 to win the national championship, but it's never been more difficult as we've gone to a 12-team playoff. But as I've given this some thought, I wondered, the slam dunk for me is Oklahoma finishing in the top 25. Now, I know I'm saying that. RJ, tell us more about how OU, who's sorry last year, is going to finish as a top 25 team. Well, I will. John Mateer was a 3,000-yard passer last year, 800-yard rusher. Jay Knott, when he was last healthy, went for 1,300 yards. Deion Burks can be a 1,200-yard receiver, and Brent Venables is calling the defense, and he's got R. Mason Thomas and the Bowen brothers over there, to name a couple. Like, Oklahoma's got the personnel to go compete. It's just the schedule kind of sucks. You go look up and down, there's 5 ranked opponents on the schedule because that's what it means to play in the SEC, but Oklahoma wanted this. Oklahoma wanted this challenge. Now is the time to rise to that occasion. And I'll give you one that's kind of swirly here. Colorado entering the top 25 and ending it as a top 25 team is not out of the question to me, especially if Marshall Faulk can give them the kind of run game that just makes Kaidon Salter or JuJu Lewis feel better. Remember, last year they were dead last, 136 out of 136 in rushing per game. So when they average 1 yard per rush per game, they won the football game. It means Deion Sanders is doing all of this by himself, along with Travis Hunter, who won the Heisman Trophy. Now, both those guys are gone. But I think they've got enough talent at wide receiver to make up for what they're going to lose, and not just Travis Hunter, but LaJohntay Wester, Will Shepard, and, my goodness, Jimmy Horn, who's a Carolina Panther now. And I think, Prime going into this is getting better at it. He's got a couple of capable quarterbacks. I think both of them can start, and Robert Livingston's defense is going to do its job. Again, just run the football well in your top 25 team. The easy one for me to pick out here, and I think this is low-hanging fruit, obviously, is not Boise State, because I think Boise State's got a schedule that can keep them in the top 25 if they just keep their business, even though Ashton Jeanty is no longer there, who rushed 2,600 yards last year. It's that Jake Retzloff is not quarterback at BYU. And I think most of the coaches or the folks that are voting had to know this because he withdrew from BYU last month. Now, you know the reason. Man was accused of rape. The case was dismissed, but he broke the honor code. And this is kind of where I want to bring in one of my best friends, Producer Kate, joining us today for the first time. Producer Kate, I got to ask this question with a straight face. Did you know that BYU has an honor code?
I mean, they certainly, haven't been behaving like that they have an honor code. So, I mean, that's kind of news, I think. And
They
also,
have
hello, everyone.
And part of the honor code is not to have premarital sex.
So are they one of those weird like religious, not weird, they're not weird, like religiously founded college that have like these really old, honor code system things, like, religious colleges is fine. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, do they have like, oh, only, like men have to have like their hair a certain way sort of deals? So just out of curiosity.
I don't think that they go toward the Bob Jones University style of school at BYU. However, I would be remiss if I didn't tell you, like, private schools and being founded on religion is a big part of college football, right? So, like,
yeah, that's
BYU, Church of Latter-day Saints, Jesus Christ. Baylor Baptist University, right? Also private in Waco. Also had a sexual assault scandal happen just in the 2010s. Notre Dame, right? Catholic school for everybody. And then there's one more that I always am missing. Texas Christian, right down the road. And they hate it when I call it Texas Christian because they say, RJ, we're TCU. I'm like, no. It says Texas Christian on the letterhead. So I will call you Texas Christian. If you didn't want to be Texas Christian, you change the name. Baylor didn't want to be Baylor Baptist, so I don't have to call them Baylor Baptist. I just call them Baylor. Unless, I want to start talking about them the way that they would like to be talked about. Because, the thing about Baylor and BYU, Kate, is there's not enough Dr. Pepper in the world to satisfy those fan bases. And they both really love their football. But if I told you that the quarterback that led them to an 11-win season last year, high watermark for them, they joined the Big 12, which was a step up for them, and they finished atop it, and they beat Colorado in the Alamo Bowl. If I told you that dude is no longer their quarterback, do you think they're going to be any good?
Probably not. Considering they've lost a integral part, that's a great word, integral part of their, everything. Maybe not everything, but getting together with a new quarterback. I'm assuming no one else left the lineup. I haven't heard anything about that, right?
Well, no, they got Chase Roberts at wide receiver still. They got LJ Martin at running back, who I think is going to do a lot of the heavy lifting. But the problem that you point out, it's not just that you lose Jake Retzloff, it's that we don't know that the guy you have behind him are as good. Like, they're losing 2,900 passing yards and 20 TDs, but they're not necessarily gaining anything either. And I don't pretend it. I say it. Quarterback is the most important position in any team sport. If your quarterback is sorry, you're not going to be any good. Ask Michigan about how that went last year when they basically elected to play the game without a quarterback. I'm being facetious here, right? But their quarterback play was atrocious. Had it been decent, they probably finished as a top 25 team instead of out of it. So I'm beating up on BYU there because BYU happened to be in this coaches poll, and I don't think they'll be in the AP poll, but I think Oklahoma is the obvious one to put there if you want to leave Boise State there. I also think that it's kind of interesting that we're having this conversation around the college football playoff kind of changing its seeding. So last year we had seeds based on did you win the conference championship and where. So your four highest ranked Power 4 champions and your highest ranked Group of 5 champion got the better seeds, which led to an imbalance that nobody really enjoyed. So Penn State ends up playing SMU. Penn State beats SMU. They play Boise State. They beat the brakes off of a Boise State team that probably got a seeding they shouldn't have. Arizona State won the Big 12 championship. Texas didn't win the SEC championship, but they end up in the quarterfinal. People didn't really like it. It also led to the SEC being skunked from being in the national championship for like the second year in a row, which the SEC obviously did not like. I don't know if you've got to this part of our sport yet, but I try to tell this to people, Kate. If you don't like the Electoral College, you're
really not going to like this.
And that's it, man. It's not popular vote, right? Like, and even if it was, we like our brands. Like I tend to tell people, you would much rather watch Ohio State and Notre Dame play in a national championship game than you would Boise State and SMU. So let's stop acting. There's another one. Southern Methodist University.
Yeah.
You would much rather watch Notre Dame play Ohio State than you would Southern Methodist and Boise State play each other. I think what this is really going to come down to is just who gets out the gate running and who takes advantage of their schedule. Like Miami doesn't play a game outside the state of Florida until November, which is wild. Missouri's got 8 home games in a sport where you traditionally just get 6, just the way the schedule works out. So some of these things come into play when we're talking about ranking teams, but I'll give you the opportunity here to be the audience when they're trying to come at me about this particular bit of our sport. Do you like preseason rankings?
I mean, yes and no. On one hand, it's interesting. It's just interesting to hear what people think about stuff. And, I tend to trust like that people are informed about rankings. The coaches ranking that that we've been kind of looking at and everything. I don't know if I trust it like as much as I would trust the AP ranking because I mean, you know that there's somebody there are people voting because I don't want to vote for this person. I just know that there's drama going on behind it. I know that it is a motivated vote, I guess is the right word. It's not, but it's interesting.
Would you say it's biased?
Yes. I know. There we go. Thank you for finding the word that I was looking for.
No, it's funny because that's what people accuse me of and accuse the AP voters of. That's why it's funny. It's can you give an opinion that people can trust? And I'm going, yeah, Oklahoma's sorry, and I'm not hiding behind that. It's still my team, but I can do this job and have done this job without needing to lie to you about how good or bad Oklahoma is.
And I mean, I know that they're I'm not saying that all of the coaches are biased, but I do know that all of the coaches are very invested in their brand and their team and what's going to happen in the season. And, I'm sure that they want to, whomever them and their PR people have, talked a lot about okay, now we all can't just vote for ourselves. It's not like a prom queen sort of competition.
Well,
or maybe it is. I was really laughing at this is the others receiving votes. The only team that received 1 vote was Buffalo.
Who, by the way, was good last year. They won 9 games. And I'm sure that the Buffalo head coach is like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and we're a top 25 team. I tell my team this all the time.
I did a good job. We did a good job.
Well, and that's a good point, right? As much as we want to talk about the growth of young men and the values that we want to espouse, we fire people for losing. We don't fire people for winning. We fire them for losing. So it is in your interest to try to do everything in your power to give the illusion that you are winning until such a time as you can no longer hide behind that illusion. I mean, at some point, the Wizard got to show himself. And if the Wizard
No.
is Ohio State, cool. If not, damn.
It's almost like a philosophical thing, right? Like it's almost like, someone has to lose this, right? We know that there have to be losers, but we're just all going to pretend like we're winners. Like you said, it's like how long can you believe yourself into like can you believe yourself into having a good season? Like, I guess you can, right?
I
But
mean, in the Ted Lasso way, you can, but that Ted Lasso team does not win championships. And
yeah.
that's really what we're talking about is,
Here,
can you do that? Can you win a championship?
no,
Can you believe yourself into a championship? Not
but
without
who
tremendous talent.
but is the sweet spot, just being not mediocre, that's not the right word, but just making sure you have that perfect level of wins and losses, right? Like what is the like, what, I'm just gonna like coast on into retirement with like my whatever million
Ooh.
dollars,
So I have a word for you. I have a word for you. We have a word for
Okay.
this. We have a
Okay.
word for this, right? And I promise, we come back and break. We're going to talk about this college football red zone, but the word for this is Iowa. Iowa.
Just Iowa.
Just Iowa. Okay. Kirk Ferentz wins 7 games, wins 9 games. That's a good margin for a Big Ten team, and that keeps him in his job for 20 plus years. You
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
have to win the Big Ten championship. You don't have to play for national championships. You do have to go bowling, which means that you finish 6-6 or better. Sometimes you end up 6-7 because you lose that game, Oklahoma. But yeah, it's called Iowa. Anytime you want to have that like thought of what's the sweet spot, where can I keep my job but not be bad, but not have to be great?
But
Iowa.
not have the crushing stress of like I have got to deliver, or they're gonna fire me as soon as I lose, a
No,
single
we got a
game.
word for that
Like,
too. We got a word for that too. That word is Alabama. Ohio State. Actually, we got multiple words for that one, right? or what's the word for, you know what? All I got to do is show up and not run it into the ground. Texas. Somehow Tom Herman goes 5-7 to Texas. Mac Brown goes 5-7 to Texas. Charlie Strong goes 5-7 to Texas. We're going, how? How'd you do that? Like, that's a magic trick, right? Well, RJ, other teams show up to play too. Routinely, Kate, routinely. Texas, Ohio State, Alabama, they have the best recruiting classes in the country every year, top 5, right? Which means that they've got better players than you. And in our sport, you got better players than the other team, probably going to win. But you know what? Before Iowa was the word for this, for the sweet spot, it used to be Georgia. And now Georgia is the word we use for juggernaut. They're just that team that is going to sit on your chest like a 900-pound gorilla and just make it impossible to move. It's one of my favorite football teams to talk about because they finally got a coach who was able to unlock their potential. And now that's just what they do, right? This is who they are. This is who they will be, I think, for as long as Kirby Smart is there. We come back. I want to talk about the idea of a college football red zone and why it needs to happen right friggin' now. My God, I want this so bad. Back on Adapt and Respond with me, RJ Young. If you're new to the show, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. If you're listening on the podcast, thank you so much for doing that. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify, and you fill out the link in the description of the YouTube video below. I'll send you a sticker, and I'm not making that merch available for purchase because I want that back and forth between you and I. Yes, I'm sending them by snail mail, so they're coming slowly, but they are coming. So you should continue to, listen to that and/or don't lose faith that I haven't sent you your sticker. It's coming. I'm one man, and I'm doing this by hand. Don't judge me. I'm old, or at least I want to be old. old enough to remember when we didn't have an NFL red zone. It's for damn sure. So for those of you that don't know or live underneath that particular rock, ESPN and NFL came up with a landmark deal where NFL gets 10% equity stake, up to 10% equity stake in ESPN, right as ESPN is getting ready to go direct to consumer. Doesn't mean it's going to leave your cable station or your YouTube TV lineup. It does mean, however, that they're going to try to make that their primary business. So one of the ways in which you try to make that work at a price point that's probably going to be between 30 and 50 bucks a month is you get as much NFL as you possibly can. I tell people this often, and they don't often believe me, but you will because you watch this show. Of the top 100 shows on television every year that rate, the top 80, 75 to 80 are just NFL games. It's a couple college football games. That means the worst watched NFL game usually outranks your highest rated scripted television show. So for those of y'all that are all loving Tracker, I will remind you that Tracker debuted after the Super Bowl was over. So it had the largest audience that it could possibly have to launch the show. These things matter, right? So if you're just outside of sports and you don't care about football, give that to someone. Tell them, hey, man, you're missing the boat on how the United States of America moves. And it is with this sport that, has this oblong ball that bounces kind of funny and is made out of pig intestines. Okay. So Roger Goodell tells everybody what they want to hear after we get this deal where ESPN, NFL media are going to be in partnership in a very big way. And it is Red Zone. So Red Zone is coming to ESPN Plus, which probably means, or ESPN, I think is what they're going to call it. You're going to pay that same amount of money that you were to NFL Network or DirecTV to get Red Zone through ESPN, which is great. As a pass-through for them, it's going to make it, really difficult for those of us with family members who just don't care to learn how to use streaming services, but we're going to have to because that's where the Red Zone is going to be. Then there is, oh my God, the idea of college football Red Zone. So this is the quote that Roger Goodell gave. Obviously, in the context of that, though, ESPN purchased the Red Zone name, and they will be able to utilize it for other sports, college football and other things. I'm thinking about basketball, I'm thinking about softball, I'm thinking about all these things they have rights to that they could exploit. And I think that it could be an exciting thing for our fans to also see Red Zone, maybe in college football or other sports, as something that they now own and have the ability to do that. But as far as Red Zone, NFL Red Zone, they won't be making any changes to our plans, which means that they're still going to produce NFL Red Zone in-house at the NFL's offices, but they're going to pipe it through ESPN, which is fine, right? You use YouTube to watch the show. Same difference. The show is made here. Now, the idea of a college football Red Zone is really, really, really fun, Kate. And the reason I want to tell you that is imagine you get to watch your sport without commercials, a host that understands how to throw to and from those games, and you're only going to watch what is essentially scoring plays. So Red Zone being, inside the 20-yard line when the defense is most likely to get scored on or the offense is most likely supposed to score. Mm-hmm. That's where the action is for many. Now, if you're a traditionalist like me, you're watching the game all the way through and you want the ebbs and flows, but it's basically baseball highlights, right? Or NBA highlights. Would you be more willing to watch college football on let's say, a longer day, as like, say, 11 a.m. to midnight? Would you just leave that on? Or would you just want to tune in to see, your team play?
I am of split minds about it. I think that that's a very wishy-washy sort of phrase, but there's something about what you're saying that's kind of bringing to mind, like, oh, so they just want little snip things that they can just throw on like TikTok or YouTube, basically, because that's kind of what it's feeling like. This is almost watering down a whole game. Like, you know what I mean? I feel like we've got the whole game, then we're going down to this format, like you're saying, which honestly sounds great. But I feel like then that is going to be cut even more to just, like the YouTube shorts sort of, or like you're saying TikTok or that sort of thing. So on one hand, that's good. And I feel like that's a lot more palatable for some people, but then also like kind of, I don't know.
I think you're on to something here because TikTok, YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels.
Yeah, Instagram Reels. That was the other one I was forgetting. Yeah.
these are all powerful ways to consume content, and the
Mhm.
scrolling is addictive, right?
Yeah.
One of the reasons
Mhm.
TikTok is the most dominant social media platform on the planet. It just doesn't
Mhm.
compete with YouTube, and as far as its reach and its base, like Mr. Beast has more YouTube subscribers than the entire global subscriber network of Netflix, which is
Mhm.
wild. But it's making the point here that YouTube is a much bigger place than, say, TikTok. And more importantly, there is a ready-made revenue stream for everybody that qualifies at YouTube rather than at TikTok. It's a little bit higher for barrier to
Mhm.
entry because they can't afford to pay out like YouTube can afford to pay out. That aside, I think the part of this that is more fun is if you are that kind of person that doesn't want to have to scroll or wants to see it in real time, because it's going to get clipped to TikTok, it's going to get
Yeah.
clipped to YouTube, then you're going to get this. But one of my favorite TV shows is actually the way in which people watch. I'm going to do this here, Kate. Way in which white people watch Friends. I watch another white people show. It's called Sports Night. Okay. Sports Night is one of my comfort foods. Really love it. It's fun. I also love seeing Isaac work, and I like the relationship that you got between your host. But there's a super sports nerd named Jeremy, and that dude was tasked with cutting up a baseball highlight. And highlights are usually like 30 seconds tops. You get
Mhm.
in, you get out. He cut a 8-minute highlight, and they said you got to make it shorter. And he goes, "I can't." What do you mean you can't? I mean, I can't. Like, dude, you got like a 7-pitch sequence to one batter that ends in a ground to shortstop. Cut that out. No, the battle. That's what you're missing. I mean,
Mhm.
he fouled off like 6 pitches. It's like, okay, uh, we get it. You're a nerd about it, but we still got to make a 30-second highlight.
Mhm.
And that's what we're going to miss as football fans is if you don't see the sequence of plays that come up to the red zone, you're missing the cadence of the game. But for many people, that's not what it's about. Like
Mhm.
producer Kate and I have gone to baseball games, and I'm geeking out about little shit all the time. Whoops, broke my own rule. Um, that's how comfortable Kate makes me.
Mhm.
But that's not what other people are doing. They see a dinger, and that's what they're there for. I think red zone is a great bridge, right?
Mhm.
And
I
it brings in many people from the sport that otherwise wouldn't be there. And I'm thinking about this in terms of like girl dads, but also boyfriends and husbands, and how this show really got started, right? The show got
Mhm.
started with, I mean, it was a few women that were asking questions about football because they wanted to be able to relate. It's
Mhm.
easier to relate when you got something exciting going on, like scoring, as opposed to a 3-and-out, or why are they punting the ball, which is one of the dumbest and stupidest things we still do in college football. In college football is punt. Just give the ball away. Just stop punting. But because it's such a big part of the game, we're loath to take it out. Like we've had controversies about kickoffs, but then again, we had controversies about how we hit people. Wasn't that long ago? We helmet to helmet contact was just what it was. What's targeting? Now that's a personal foul and you get tossed for it. When I was 10 years old, you might watch John Lynch go murder a person or seem to, and that's just part of the game. Now we come a little bit wiser and a little more into, hey, we would really like it if this person was able to have the use of their body at a high end at 50, 60 years old, as opposed to needing hip replacements or knee replacements, so forth, so on. But in the interim, while they're playing, let's get the most exciting parts of what they're
Mhm.
doing in front of as many people as we possibly can. I think that is the sauce for Red Zone. Like
Mhm.
originally
And
they thought this was going to suck.
and I
Um,
and and I like the concept for like everything you just said. Sorry, I'll like finish what you're saying. I just
no, please, no, please.
oh no, it kind of reminds me of, you know, it takes almost it's one of those things that like takes the hard work out of, or sorry, the visual hard work out of sport, just like, what we were talking about. And I wonder what that does long term, like for people who are fans of the sport, or like for future fans, I guess is what it's like, oh yeah, you see like these amazing things happening, in these shorter clips and stuff like that. And then, like a kid goes out and he's like, "Oh, I want to play football." And then suddenly he discovers that football is not, you know, all excitement, there's all of these extra things you have to do actually. And I just kind of wonder what that does long term. Like it's it's not like I'm saying that red zone is going to, erode, people appreciating the sports. Like, I'm not saying that. I just kind of, I don't know, just like from a fan perspective, like new fans coming in with these kind of things is like getting not quite the right idea about what the sport actually is. I don't know. It's just
And I don't think
something
that's
that I think
necessarily
about.
that. It's a great observation, right? Because you're right. Like, I think about me and racing cars, right?
Hmm.
Until you start racing a car and you figure out what a racing line is, or that braking later makes you faster, all you think is you put the gas pedal down, you turn the steering wheel. Isn't that fun?
Yeah,
Same thing
seems
is true
easy.
of basketball. You might think it's just getting to the rack, but I think getting into the sport is how you get into the sport,
Hmm.
right? Then as you are decided that you're going to commit to learning it, there's a higher, steeper learning curve where you might be the kind of person that goes, okay, red zone is no longer helping me. But I also don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, because we've got, 2 decades of red zone being active
Yeah.
to show all football has done is grown since. It's a good thing. And
Hmm.
football junkies like myself and newbies like it just the same, which makes it a more or less perfect product because it scales for everybody. And I think for kiddos, you're gonna go outside and play, and as you go out inside and play, you get to learn. Oh, there's much more nuance to this. There's how do I take a snap? There's how do I spin to the laces? There's how do I come out of breaks? There's how many steps go into a post route versus how many steps go into a go route. And numbers unlimited for the go route, and depending on what kind of a post route you're running, it could be 7 and 9, it could be 14. Just depends on the depth of the safeties. These are all things that are technical that you're not going to pick up even from a long football game.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that's just it, right? Like how you get in is how you get in. I tend to think that we're going to find more people receptive to this idea than not. But the one thing that I would really be interested to see is who gets to make it, because the NFL has done a really good job of making red zone. And I don't know that you want to take that same team and make them make college football red zone, but you would like to make something like it if you were smart, because Kate, ESPN spent $7.6 billion on the rights to the college football playoff for 6 years. It is in their interest to try to squeeze every single dime they can out of that deal that they're paying out, because then Texas Tech gets to pay people even more money? Question mark? Take a short break, but I wanted to talk about the money that Texas Tech has invested, not just into its football program, but into its athletic program, and what it really does mean to say we want to win championships and we will pay whatever we got to pay to do it. Back on Adapt and Respond with me, RJ Young. If you are new to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, like this video, and answer the question in the comments below. Do you think Texas Tech is going to get its money's worth on the roughly $25 million it spent on its football roster? You can hear Kate laughing because it's a ridiculous number. It's also a great story by Sam Kahn Jr. in The Athletic. You should go read it. But before we start unpacking this, Bet Online, who has partnered with the show for the start of the college football season, we're very excited about that. They give high payouts. They pay quickly, and they're into a record-breaking wager. So go visit them if you are into placing a friendly wager, like one you might on Texas Tech. They got over-unders there. So the over-under is -165 for Texas Tech winning more than 8.5 games, and plus 135 for them to win fewer than 8.5 games. So do you think they're going to win 9 or fewer than 9 or fewer than 8? Yeah, fewer than 9. Fewer than 9, 8.5. So what is it, 8 in the hook? This is fascinating to me for a number of reasons. Number one is Texas Tech hasn't won 9 games in a single season since 2009. So history says they're just an 8-win team when they're good. And they were an 8-win team last year. But because they have spent as much money as they have on players to bring in the talent they need to go win, you might feel this is the time to bet on them winning at a high level, which I think is why you get you got to place 165 to win 100 if they're going for 9 games. But I'm going to go through this real quick, and then I want to throw it to producer Kate because she's been looking at these numbers and has opinions. So we got $55 million that the Red Raider Athletic Department NIL Collective has paid out in player compensation 2025, 2026 through 17 sports. $55 million. $35 million of that was paid out before the House versus NCAA settlement that officially took effect with revenue sharing, where the conferences have to, schools have to take the money they make from the conferences and pay out a sizable chunk of that. At Texas Tech, where you got to pay out about $20.5 million, 15 of that is going to go to the football team, so about 74%. And then 3.5 of that is going to go toward, we think, your basketball team, your men's basketball team, 2% to your women's basketball team, 1.9% to your baseball team, and the rest to Texas Tech's remaining sports. But even that's kind of wonky because Najee Kennedy, who was pitcher last year for Texas Tech's softball team, made the women's college World Series, or I should say the softball college World Series for the first time. They pay her $1 million. So if you're a star, you're getting paid. We really don't care about gender as long as we're winning. And that's always going to be true. Cody Campbell enters this conversation then, Kate. Now, this is the part that I think is going to speak to the college football of it all. Cody Campbell played offensive line at Texas Tech, became a landman, and then built an oil company. He since sold that oil company with his partner for more than $4 billion. And one of the first things he said was Texas Tech football is about to get a lot better. That is how powerful it is for some of us to have a winner on the field. And because people don't look at spending money on player compensation and football as an investment, they think of it as, this is my amusement, this is my entertainment. There's no bottom to this pit. Like, SMU got really good. Imagine being able to forego making $30 million for about 3 years because you just want to take the step up. A lot of people can't do that, but Southern Methodist could because they've got billionaires as boosters who are going to make them whole because they would much rather see Southern Methodist play in the ACC than the American because they know what it could mean for their profile. And it worked. They were very good last year. They made the college football playoff before teams like Wisconsin, USC, other blue bloods. That's the gamble here. It is, if I got the money, why not spend it? So Cody Campbell goes to the athletic department, goes to Joe McGuire, the head coach, says, what do you need? And they went out and bought it. So now that I'm giving this context, like, what are you thinking?
Well, I'm thinking they better win, or they,
yeah.
Somebody's like, give me my $25 million back.
Sorry, no receipt, no refunds. It's just gone now.
No, it's interesting. Like, these big public, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna spend. They're gonna get a lot better now. It's like, oh, but if you don't, there's that. They should get better. I mean, they've invested and they've recruited players that can help them, and they should. But it's just like, oh my gosh, guys.
It's so much money, and it's so much money for a school like Texas Tech. Texas Tech is on Mars. I knew this because I drove there, and I was scared out of my mind because I'm going, why is everything just desert red? What happens if I catch a flat out here? That sort of stuff. It's way over there, right? You got to want it to get to Lubbock. But once you get there, it's cool. And you know what? They've also spent a lot of money around the program. Like, they've got a $242 million football facility they just opened. They just opened it. They want to win. And one of the ways you win is you have better facilities and better living places and pay people more. People will come to you to play is the idea here. But are they Ohio State, who spent, $20 million on their roster last year and won the national championship? No, because Ohio State was already moving in this direction. I talked to Cardell Jones for a piece as he runs one of the NIL collectives at Ohio State, won a national championships quarterback at Ohio State. And he said he talked to an economics professor at Ohio State to ask what the economic impact of an Ohio State home football game was in Columbus and across the state. And they said they did across the state first because they thought it would be more beneficial. It's land-grant university. And he said each Ohio State home game is worth $1 billion in economic impact across the state. And you get at least 6 every year. And if you are good, we're talking about that $1 billion being the base level. That's how important football is at that level. So you can understand the investment that they might want to put into it because it expands out. Another example of this would be the ACT score that went up with Nick Saban being head coach at Alabama. When your football team went at a high level, better students, and more importantly, students that can afford to pay, will come to you.
Yeah.
Right. So do you need to win? Absolutely, positively. But I don't know. If they won 8 games this year, I don't know that they're going to fire Joey McGuire, their head coach. He's beloved. He's a great coach. I really love him. But it would be clear that they did not get the return on investment that they wanted because they've been very clear about, we want to win the championship. Like, Kate, last year, the team that was picked to finish dead damn last in the Big 12 won the Big 12 championship.
Yeah.
And it was so embarrassing and so setting back, they think, for the league, that they blamed us, the media, because it was a media poll. And they're going, we don't think that helped us. Wait, you guys sent out a poll, asked us to fill it out. And they said, yeah, we didn't do that this year. So it's our fault that Arizona State turned out to be good at a time when everybody can quite literally change their roster year to year? No, we're not saying it's your fault. We're saying that why would we give ourselves this opportunity to have this bad publicity? Like, well, man, look, news is reporting what other people don't want to hear about, right? Like, that's part of it. But I think you're on to, you better win. I also think with the revenue sharing, we're going to see more money paid out. But this is getting to the quagmire that is college sports right now, the creation of the College Sports Commission, a real thing that just came online that's probably going to supersede the NCAA because, shocker, Kate, people are cheating.
Oh, what? People would do that? They would cheat? They would lie?
My favorite is coaches can't, they hate tampering and poaching. So
I thought that they had put in some sort of, like, the players can't, like, I thought that there was something that players can't switch, though, very frequently, and they can't.
So there was this. So 2018, we put in a thing called the transfer portal, which allowed for players to enter their name into what is a glorified spreadsheet and say, hey, I'm leaving this school and I'm leaving in good standing. If you would like me to come play for your school, reach out. And then that was fine, right? That's worked. That's okay. But you still had to sit out a year if you want to transfer within the division. So all of the 136 is in the FBS. If you want to transfer to another team in the FBS, you had to sit out. And then we did away with this rule. And it's immediate eligibility, which means that you can transfer every single year if you want to, which has led to an unprecedented turnover at that level. And people hate it. A, they need me to tell them who's on their football team. But B, they don't think that loyalty means anything. I'm going, hey, man, coaches leave all the time. Coaches get fired all the time. They take better jobs all the time. They're also getting paid. So why are you mad about this? But now that the players are getting paid, they're going, okay, we need to have some sort of collective bargaining agreement that makes it blanket, this is the punishment for transferring within this time frame. And I go, to have a collective bargaining agreement, you need a labor union.
I was going to say, you need a union.
Guess what we ain't got? And good luck having a union with any teeth with a labor force that changes literally every 4 years.
Yeah, I know.
So I'm not in favor of a CBA at all because I don't think, it's basically going to be everybody telling the kids what to do again.
Yeah.
Even as they're getting paid this money. And what's loyalty? Now, the loyalty part of this is, I think, more interesting than anything else. Because unlike, say, the NFL, like I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan because I like to make bad decisions. You go to school at the University of Tulsa. You go to school at the University of Oklahoma. You go to school at Oklahoma State. You wear that for the rest of your life. It becomes a part of you. It is family. It is blood. So when things like, I'm going to pick on University of Tulsa, Tulsa loses its friggin' accreditation trying to devalue my diploma, I catch an attitude, right? Imagine that being your football team, and I do because Tulsa sucks. God, dog, do we suck. And you know what? Producer Kate pointed this out. Football chops, man. PU beat Notre Dame, and I was like,
I was going to say,
RJ, 2010.
Yeah, when we were going over the coaches thing, I was like, "Oh, Notre Dame. Hey, RJ, you remember when TU beat Notre Dame?"
And it was the year I graduated. Like,
And
how did
and
I?
and he and
What?
he was talking like this was ancient history from like the before times or whatever. I'm like, RJ, it was
Well,
within our
hey, look,
like, what are you talking about?
a lot has happened to your man in the last 15 years. However, GJ Kinney, who's the head coach at Texas State, was quarterback at TU, also ran the ball 20 times in that game. Tommy Rees is quarterback at Notre Dame, who is the Cleveland Browns' offensive coordinator. It's just wild that TU beat Notre Dame 28-27. Now, Notre Dame team was sorry, and a couple years later, we're playing a national championship, but I had totally wiped that out. And I really got to do some investigation here because apparently I have just been absolutely destroyed by basically the last 8 years of TU football because
I mean, it's not been great. So,
I guess we could be some other school, but I don't know what other school that might be. I just know that TU's got 4 Pro Football Hall of Famers, which is like 4 more than Clemson. Have 2 first-round draft picks in the last 5 years, and we're getting our behinds handed to us by service academies, which is like Bixby High School getting beat by an 8-man team. Just it's not supposed to happen. It's not supposed to happen. And you know what? I was doing so good until that moment, and I think before I absolutely blow the gasket talking about TU football because I'm here, everybody wants to hear about that. We're gonna wrap up the show. Producer Kate, thank you so much for joining us.
No worries.
Here. It's
Thanks
fun,
for
man.
having me. Thanks for having me.
You want to come back?
Sure. I mean, I'd love to come back. Maybe, I can actually have a, what is the right word? Another way of saying maybe college football coaches are catty and they want to, get together and like.
Nope, I like that one too.
No, I know we're trying to wrap up the show, but I was trying to figure out how do I say that maybe like the college football coaches get together, like, catty teen girls or something. They're like, we're going to vote for this person's team and blah, blah, blah. It's like, I was trying to figure out
we're
how
going
to
to
say that.
freeze out those people over there.
Yeah. You know what?
Mean girl them.
Because like I said, I'm not saying that they're all like going to be biased, but it just kind of, it just feels like that. It's like we're going to get together and we're going to vote on whose team is the prettiest or something. I don't know. Anyway.
I think they're a little too self-serving to do that just yet, but give them time. Give them time. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of Adapt and Respond. If you like the longer show format, you like the longer shows, let me know that in the comments below. Otherwise, we will see y'all on the flip side.
Have a good one.